everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Nerding Out. Today, I have got Nathan with me and your ice cream bowl.
I needed ice cream today.
Unfortunately, once again, our other friend here, Matt, is not going to be with us. Business things, traveling for business. But today, we are going to be talking about San Diego Comic-Con, which happens on the 21st through the 23rd of this month.
24th, yes.
I forget about...
Sunday.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, Thursday through Sunday.
They're usually 3 days, but then they have their, Wednesday where they do things, so...
No, they don't have a Wednesday where they do things.
Yeah, they have a Wednesday when they do things.
Comic-Con is Thursday, July 21st through Sunday, July 24th.
So anyway, I've been.
She is prepared!
No, I've been to this thing 3 times, so it's the day before all the events start. You have people who have spent $200+ on an extra ticket to go and get all of their exclusives and things like that before anybody else can get to them. The hard knock people, which I did not do for mine. Hell no. But today we're going to be talking about San Diego Comic-Con, the different things that have been announced, that have not been announced, speculations, and just the healthiness of San Diego Comic-Con and conventions in general. So first we're going to talk about as far as San Diego Comic-Con. Of course, that's what goes on in San Diego, California. Biggest event,
the comic convention. That's the con part.
The comic convention that's been around since the 70s. Started teeny tiny small little thing, exploded into the entire convention center that takes up the port area in the farther parts of the outskirts of San Diego. It's also now starting to take over the opposite side. So where the convention is, there's railroad tracks where you have subways just going through left and right with all the different shows and stuff like that on it, and it's just become an advertisement subway. But there's a street right across from it where it has a bunch of restaurants and things like that, and more hotels where they've now started to put things into that area as well. So not only the convention center, but pretty much the entire downtown San Diego has now become a part of Comic-Con from this point. But one of the biggest, if not the biggest, there's also New York Comic-Con, but I feel like that one doesn't have as much going on as San Diego does. You're in California. That's where most people live. That celebrity-wise and things, that's where most things happen. So San Diego's the bigger of the two of those. But that's going to be happening this weekend. They've announced a few different things that they're going to have there. There was a lot of speculation on if the bigger people were going to go or not, because this is the first time that they have been open since COVID started. So
you could say it's been a rocky road for the last couple years.
Is that why you brought this ice cream down here?
Maybe.
God, I hate you. Anyway, So it's the first year since 2020 that they've had this. They were contemplating if they wanted to do it, much like E3. E3 decided not to do it this year, but San Diego said, I think we're in a good enough spot, so we're going to go ahead and do it. But they do have some people. They just announced a couple of weeks ago that Marvel was going to actually be at this one. There was not a guarantee, but they are.
It's Marvel.
It is Marvel,
comic, so kind of has to be.
They were not going to do it though because it's a big one. But they are in Hall H, which is the hall. And let me tell you, you have to basically camp overnight, which is fine in San Diego because it's always 75 degrees. So unless it's raining, you're not going to have a problem. But they camp out. I saw people starting to get off 7 p.m. and sitting outside of the building the day before, so that whenever it opens, you go in and you just watch whatever's in Hall H all day so you can be there for any of the bigger events. So when I went, unfortunately I was not willing to sleep outside, but we were still doing events there, and you saw people bringing their tents, bringing their camping gear and stuff so that they could sleep outside, so they could go into the first panel that opens and they would just stay in that room, not even afraid to use the bathroom so they wouldn't lose their spot. But they stayed in there from 8 a.m. till whenever their panel was, which usually it was the Marvel one that year because it was whenever Thor was coming out, and Thor 2, and Tom Hiddleston was there in his Loki fashion, which I'm sure if you all are fans, you remember him screaming, "Say my name," and we all were fangirls, and we were all very happy about that. But I went in 2012, 13, and 14. So we got there whenever the Marvel, Thor and Captain America and all that stuff was super big. But Always a fun event, always a lot of stuff to do. Very hard to get tickets to nowadays. It's a what do they call it? The like auction type
lottery system.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
auction.
Yeah, you know, I'll bid $500 for that ticket. No, it's a lottery system that you have to get in. So it's everyone's got a fair chance, but you're not getting one. When we tried, there were like 10,000 people in that queue, and it like people got so frustrated that they left. So it went down to 4,000, and we were able to get our tickets. But the things they have announced at this point, we are going to go through some of the like highlights of it. Some of the panels, there were some really cool panels that we saw on the list there. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see them, so can't really talk about too much of them. But I unfortunately didn't get a chance to go to those. But like they had the composer one for like doing film and TV and like how to get into that field. Podcast ones. They had writing, and of course it's Comic-Con, so you've got like all the comic book people, like Jason Lee, I think is his name. Stan Lee.
You didn't know Stan?
No, Jason Lee. It is for DC.
Oh, okay. I was
DC.
going to say, I thought you were talking about specifically Stan Lee.
No, Jason Lee did some of the Batman ones, like the big Batman ones. He's there trying to tell you like how to get into the field, going through, and you can actually bring your portfolio of stuff and have real professionals take a look at it and see like what your chances are of getting into the field and things. So it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of cool things. There's always some protesters on the other side. I don't know how they've dealt with that over the last few years since we haven't been, but it got pretty heated at times across the street from there. But there are a few things that they've already started to announce on there. So we're going to take a look into those today and kind of give our speculations and things like that of what we expect. So the first one that we're going to look into is the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Now, for those of you who are old enough to remember, there was a Dungeons and Dragons movie back in the day, like 2000s-ish. Jeremy Irons was in it. Do not remember anyone else from that movie because I was a huge fan of Jeremy Irons. So it was a major flop. It was supposed to be like the Red Dragon, but like Tiamat was kind of a thing, but it just didn't do well. And when I heard they were doing another Dungeons and Dragons movie, I was a little afraid because Chris Pratt's going to be in it. That is one person. You've also got a couple of other people that are in it, like Michelle Rodriguez from the Fast and Furious series, well, what I know her from on that. Hugh Grant randomly is going to be in that. There's a bunch of different like random people in there, but it kind of gives you an idea of like what it's going to be about. There is like a human who is a thief, and he has like a companion that's an elf, I believe, or a half elf. That's all that's really known about it, and the fact that Chris Pine is going to be somebody like a warrior or like fighter person in that. But like that's really all that has been said about it. I can guarantee you if they have a Hall H panel, there's going to be a trailer out in the next weekend. Like, so be keeping out for that. So we're going to get a little bit more information about it. I really hope they do well because we have like grown immensely on like our graphics and like storyline. Like there's so much stuff for Dungeons and Dragons out there now that I feel like now is a great time to do a movie. But because of the older movie, I have this fear that it's just going to be like people are going to see it and be like, oh, is this the thing that gets more people into Dungeons and Dragons? Or is it going to be like, that looks shitty, I don't want to do this because that's for nerds type stuff?
Well, those kind of people would already not want to play D&D anyways. And I wouldn't want somebody like that to play D&D with.
True as that may be, it's just I'm very scared of how this movie's going to be because it's I've been bitten once before with a D&D movie.
I can tell you one thing, no matter how good or bad it is, it'll still get more publicity, so it'll do something.
That's true. D&D has definitely gotten bigger thanks to like Critical Role, Stranger Things, and all that stuff, so I have a feeling that if they're going to make one work, now's the time to do it. But we'll see a trailer, more than likely, and a lot more information, definitely, whenever that panel is. I believe that one is on Saturday, so we'll be seeing a little bit more on the Dungeons & Dragons movie then. Another thing that I saw, this has No offense to anybody that likes it, but I saw that it was on Hall H, so it must be a big thing. I know the show is a big thing, and it's Teen Wolf. It's a show. I don't remember what it was on. I want to say MTV was a part of it, but that may be completely wrong. But they are making a movie on it. So same characters, same kind of storyline and whatnot. They're going to have something on that. This one kind of threw me for a loop. I had not heard anything about it, and I highly doubt that the person that was in the movies is going to be in this. But Disney Plus is doing a show on National Treasure. I don't know how I feel about that. If Nicolas Cage isn't in it, then what is it?
Nicolas Cage is going to come in as Ghost Rider and just like wreck shit up, like drive through the vaults and stuff, and
I liked him as Ghost Rider.
Oh, trust me, I did too.
But
second one was really good.
Yes, by far I think that the second one was much better than the first, but that one just kind of threw me for a loop. That I didn't see anything really on Disney side of things. Of course, Marvel's going to have some stuff on there. If they have any Star Wars news, I didn't see anything on there for Star Wars.
I'd say probably something big for Marvel, I would assume, is going to be two things. Thor: Love and Thunder just came out recently, so that they're going to
I don't think they're going to have anything there for it.
No, not necessarily for it, but there are going to be lots of stuff to purchase. Lots of things you can buy.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say the thing that's going to be covered are the three things that are coming out soonest. Is going to be, well, very soon is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's coming out in November. Does it have an exact date? Yeah, November. Yeah, November 11th. Yep. Oh, it's 11/11.
I wonder how they're going to do that, though, because they said they were not going to replace the actor. What was his name?
Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, Chadwick. Mm-hmm. They were not going
to... You can't replace him. He was a great actor.
He was perfect.
Yes.
Like Black Panther. He was excellent as Black Panther.
Yeah, T'Challa was really, really good pick for him. I think he played it perfectly, and it was a really good Black Panther.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I agree 100% that you should not replace him with an actor because, like, he is such an icon for the Black Panther character now. It would really feel wrong to put somebody else there. But I want to know how they're going to, like, really... They said they weren't going to replace him, so what are they going to do with the story?
I think he's just... I'm guessing, but I'm just thinking he's not going to be in it. I don't know what the next storyline is going to be about necessarily, but I do think it's going to just move on to a different character, main character, or something.
They're focusing, from what I've heard, more on the women's side of it. So, like the sister and people like that. Mm-hmm. From what I've understood, as far as the storyline goes, they were just going to have him going off to start his own family.
Yep.
And like they're stuck with trying to replace who is going to take over
the power. Yeah.
So like the women are going to be more so into this, but because it's called Black Panther. And you don't actually have Black Panther in it, like, where are we going to tie this in?
I just really think it'd be cool if, I don't know, he obviously, hopefully, he doesn't have to die in the movie. Maybe he just has gone on and has a happy life with his family somewhere else. But, being Wakanda forever, it's going to be much more, I think, spiritual based. Like, this one's going to be even more so like the spiritual successor to him. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they're going to give him a moment of, like, maybe they put CG, maybe they do some of the deep fake for this face and all that stuff like that, but to bring him into the movie.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, so that way you can see him once again, type of thing. Give him because I mean, he did die, unfortunately, not that long after the first Black Panther.
Yeah.
And he didn't get to see a lot of what that movie did. I mean, right afterwards he did, but like I hope that they give him another kind of like cameo or tribute.
Well, I mean, with CG
to bring him
into
from the spiritual realm.
Yeah, like the way that CG is nowadays, where you can make like all these characters the younger versions of themselves and stuff like that, and like really able to do that. And they did that a little bit in Star Wars, didn't they? Where they had
Luke. They had younger Luke.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a possibility that if they have to do like a small part or something for him to be like, I'm gonna go start a family with this person.
Yeah.
Do with what you have to or whatever, then like they
I
could do that.
I just want to see at least Chadwick again, like at least maybe in the spiritual realm to be able to see him again or something. I really hope they give him a good tribute because he really did a great job to casting T'Challa.
Well, a lot of speculations are out there as far as the Marvel panel that's going to be happening on Saturday as well at 5. I do know that one, Pacific time. Fantastic Four. There is a leak in which Matt had been talking to me about through text, was that there is a scene that someone has leaked. It looked very fake though, because the way that they had this character looking, I was like, that looks so fake to me though, is the Fantastic Four. They said they were doing it, but then that's really all that we have heard. And
there was
Dr.
a little
Doom
bit
character looks awful.
There was a little bit back and forth about it because they did announce that they were doing it in 2019 at San Diego Comic-Con, actually. It just makes sense that they'll announce something, or maybe about it. John Watts was announced as the director in December 2020, and then Watts stepped down in April 2022, so just a few months ago, he stepped down for the project, and so they don't have a director, which doesn't mean that they don't have writers and everything still working on it, but usually you have like this director or somebody the head of it to kind of keep it going on that track. So I'm sure it may not be completely stopped, but it's going to really slow down until they get somebody else to replace that.
Definitely stop it for a little bit. But my big question is, so when I say that Doctor Doom looks bad, it's not that he looks bad. It looks like he is wearing like that green vest on there with like the belt and of course the cape and everything. It looks like the comic book version, and from every single like movie that we've seen from Marvel so far, they flare it up a bit for everybody's like costume.
Nobody wants to see the Green Goblin like he was in the comics.
Well, I mean, even like,
William Dafoe was the best.
I mean, hands down. But like, I will say though, like OG Loki in the series. I'm sorry, like I hate that costume, but I loved seeing it in the show. So I mean, if they do it that way, fantastic. But it just kind of like when I saw that picture, it made me think like that can't be real, because they wouldn't do that type deal. But I would love to see some more about the Fantastic Four, because John Krasinski was supposed to be playing the man himself, and like Mr. Fantastic is a very important character to this whole thing that they're going to be doing with Kang the Conqueror. So you've got to have some sort of information for it. But like, people wanted Krasinski to be Mr. Fantastic so much, but when they finally got it, it was so split down the middle. People were like, he was great, keep him as it. Like, everybody looked similar to themselves in each like universe that Doctor Strange hit. He's got to play Mr. Fantastic at this point from now on. But like, other people were like, they put him in this movie so you could see how garbage of an actor he would be for that character, so that you wouldn't do it later on. It's like, I thought he was fine. He seemed perfectly fine to me for the character, so I don't know what they're talking about. But for whatever reason, it is split down the middle as far as that goes. So I'd really like to see some Fantastic Four.
I think it was just too small of a sampling anyways. I think he's not my favorite actor, but he's a good actor. I think he's a good enough actor that he could pull it off. And I think you're talking about, The Office, right? That guy, yeah.
Yeah, but
that's his most known role. So you're obviously going to constantly see little dimples, kind of quirky smile, Office dude. So
see him peeking through the blinds of the window.
the meme, but. I think just like most actors and actresses, it's unfortunate that they get stuck with like, Ewan McGregor. He's done plenty of other things, but it's always been, Obi-Wan. He's kind of done.
Point, yes.
Yeah.
I remember him as Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
But like, yes, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's now stuck in that role.
Yeah, it's you get a face to it, or like the James Bond girls or the James Bond guys even. They just get that stigma stuck to them that's what they are. I still think though that most of them would do fine, and including he's going to be just fine as a Mr. Fantastic. No problem.
I think so too.
Yeah.
One other thing real quick about the Marvel that I'm hoping to see, I know that it's probably way too far out there because they're still building the world. I want to hear something about the Young Avengers. I want myself to be proven right that they're building up to a Young Avengers movie, and I guarantee you the Kid Loki is going to be like involved, which means Journey into Mysteries, which is my favorite side of like the comic books for Thor, is when they go into the Journey into Mysteries stuff. So I'm really hoping to see something like that there for that.
I can guarantee there's going to be probably another trailer or something about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Let's see, because they're both planned.
I know that the
Quantumania
is going to be this year. And well, both of them, yeah. And they have like a Christmas special and I think a Halloween special for.
At the moment, I think they pushed the Quantumania back. to February 17th, 2023. They pushed
I
it
might
back.
be wrong on my dates. I've so many, but
Yeah,
that one, they've got to do those, though, because apparently in the next Guardians of the Galaxy and in the Ant-Man movie, they're going to be pushing out Kang a lot more. He's going to make an appearance in one of them, and he's going to be a big part of it in another. So
I have a feeling it's going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be the introduction again of Kang the Conqueror. Just because Ant-Man's always been that kind of movie that, like, I've not watched the any of the Ant-Mans all the way through. I've seen parts of it, but from what happens with Ant-Man, it seems like it kind of introduces little bits and pieces of the next series or what's coming up ahead. I have a feeling it's going to introduce in Ant-Man Kang again, and the bigger, I mean, because honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy is bigger than Ant-Man, like box office wise.
hands down.
I think the next big movie is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's when they're going to really come in contact with him again, and I'm assuming Adam Warlock is going to be a lot.
Yeah, Adam Warlock is
Warlock's
going to be in
this one.
Guardians. Yeah, so
So
there's
we're gonna have a lot.
thing. They've also rumored that Matthew Murdock is making an appearance again, of course, because you've got She-Hulk coming out, and she's a lawyer, so you're going to have that coming out more. So there's possibly more that they're doing with him, and Jessica Jones have been kind of rumored to be doing a project or whatnot. So there might be a lot of different things we finally get to see about Phase 4 or maybe even Phase 5, just to be like, hey, it's been 3 years or 2 years since we've really said anything or done anything because of everything that's going on. Here's a bunch of stuff. So I'm hoping to do that.
And I don't know how accurate all of this is, but some of it is like you can find different sources. You can go through Wikipedia or any website. It does have like a list of. I know, but usually it's a nice way to get concise information, like all in one spot. Then you can go verify other places. But some of the stuff that is planned, or at least has been mentioned enough, we're assuming it's going to be planned. Like you said, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, then the Halloween and holiday specials.
Yeah.
Secret Invasion.
That's going to be a big one if they give any info for it.
Yep. Ironheart, Armor Wars, and then supposedly a possible, says untitled at the moment, Wakanda series. So kind of like same world as Black Panther. So there's still quite a few things coming up, but you know, that's Marvel. Marvel honestly probably is the biggest part of Comic-Con. It has the most coming that comes to go to Marvel stuff. So a lot of people like hearing about Marvel stuff, and they're going to give little leaks and little trailers.
Well, it's also Comic-Con, so
yeah,
we're
Marvel.
talking,
One of the biggest out there.
So some of the other things that they've announced, it's going to be bigger panels that were not actually in Hall H, which I was kind of surprised on. The Lord of the Rings, Ring of Power series. That one is going to have its own panel there, and of course they've just released another trailer for it that gives you a little bit more of a storyline to it. It looks really good. I'm still not like convinced that it's going to be like, it's going to have some problems, because I feel like, you know, Lord of the Rings, when the first movies came out, the first 3, they were excellent, done really well, you know, really well done. Then you had The Hobbit, and a lot of people were kind of on the fence about The Hobbit. I think as The Hobbit was going on, they got worse. Like, the first one was excellent, second one was great, third one, no. Legolas looked so fake in it because they had to do the CG to make him look younger, and it just did not hit right on there.
I assume they ran into time crunches, ran out of money, stuff like that, because there were some good parts about even the third one. I can't remember names off the top of my head, but the human guy that's in the really shitty town right near the
Bard?
What?
The guy that shot the dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bard.
Bard, yeah. Yeah, I really liked his, well, for one of the actors, a really, really good actor too. But, like, I like that little part of it. Kind of had a nice offshoot of just talking about something else, which obviously got away from the story somewhat, the main idea, what's going on with the dwarves and all that, and the 4 armies that fought and stuff like that. But because the movie was kind of getting boring and had some issues, I felt it kind of gave a rest and kind of got you lets you focus on something else. So I liked all three of those movies. Not as much as Lord of the Rings, but I think Lord of the Rings also succeeded so well, not just because they did a good job. It was a really good set of movies. They had great actors. I mean, Christopher Lee, come on, one of my favorite actors. He's gone, of course, now, but Ian McKellen was really good actors. But I think they also succeeded because of the timing. There wasn't a lot of fantasy or good fantasy movies at that time, right around that era. There was a ton of like Teen Wolf and vampire stuff kind of around the late 90s, early 2000s. You get Buffy the Vampire, just all kinds of unique stuff like that, like Supernatural, even a little later. Mm-hmm. They had all kinds of stuff like that, but they didn't have a lot of good fantasy movies and shows, because Harry Potter started to kind of come out around then. But Harry Potter it's even hard to call it fantasy per se, because it was set in the modern world. Yeah. It's its own kind of like, just magical set of movies, good movies, but they were not straight set in a fantasy environment. But I think Lord of the Rings did really well because of timing too. Unfortunately, I don't think Lord of the Rings is going to do as good. There's some controversy and all that. It's Lord of the Rings. I don't really care. I do kind of want to watch it, but I think they're going to have a problem, because it's just like anytime video games release in November, they're contending with like Call of Duty and stupid Battlefield and all these other games that everyone's going to buy, and you don't release games in November. You either release it in the late summer, early fall, or sometime later around Christmas or something. We've had some good fantasy, really good fantasy in recent years. I have not watched it, but I know everybody loves Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a huge fantasy series.
Very well done.
The Witcher has kind of got the more nerdy side of fantasy. You've got tons of sci-fi, which...
nerdy in a different aspect. Because like Game of Thrones was the book nerds. Witcher was some book, mostly game nerds. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, it's a different nerdverse, but it's still like... It satisfied a lot of people. Like, you got Game of Thrones, you've got The Witcher, but it's still, they're very both grounded in fantasy elements. I think they're going to have a hard time, because we've just recently got our fill of lots of fantasy within the last few years, and even recent just year. I don't know how they're going to do. So.
I know one thing that you mentioned in there was the vampires and werewolves, which brings me to another one that they're going to be doing, which is Interview with a Vampire. The AMC series is coming out, I think, August of this year. You don't know much about the Interview with the Vampire and things like that.
I know you liked it a lot.
I was a massive Anne Rice fan, and she did die recently, and here is my take on Interview with a Vampire. So the movie I thought was excellent. Like, the little girl, I can't remember her name, that played in there, like, she did so well with being a child. And then, of course, being a vampire, you live for years, decades, hundreds, like centuries, things like that. She did such an excellent job for being an adult in a child's body, for being the actress. But you also had Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in it. And I thought Tom Cruise did an excellent job of playing Lestat, where he was this charming individual, but he also had that really, like, nasty side to him where he could just turn on you in a second and just murder. But they are going to be doing the Interview with a Vampire series. I don't know how I feel about that, because Queen of the Damned, it's one of those things that as well is split down the middle with people. Not the middle, more so probably like 80% of people hated it, 20% of people thought it was okay. Not great, okay. But it didn't really do with, like, Lestat just seemed much different than in Interview with the Vampire, so it was weird. But Anne Rice was very big on keeping her story hers. So if you wrote a fan fiction, if you did fan art and things like that, she was on you so hard about not using her characters. Like, you will not defile her characters. If you want to put Lestat and Louis together as a relationship, she was on you like, no, they were never in a relationship. You cannot do that. That is my characters. How dare you? And so a lot of people who did fan fictions and stuff like that were not allowed to do that. And now that Anne Rice is unfortunately passed away, that kind of leaves people to where the people who own the rights and stuff may not care as much as Anne Rice about her characters. So now you can do whatever you want to this, and it's really not going to be bad. But for those of us who are huge fans of the series and her books, are they going to do it right? Or are they going to just be like, vampires, people love vampires, we're just going to make money off of it. Here's a trailer, here's some hot vampires, and they bite people. I don't know.
In my opinion, I think it's going to be more of what the latter you said. I don't know a ton about the development. I haven't seen the director or anything like that. But she hadn't died that long ago compared to how quickly this came out. So unless they were working on it before she passed away, like the amount of time that she passed away, because, I mean, it wasn't necessarily like planned, like they had years in advance to say, oh, she's going to die on this date, you know, maybe more close to the time, but still, you know, it's been, what, a year and a half,
2021 is when she died.
So, oh my goodness, it's only been just probably a little after a year then. To make a movie in a year to 2 years, all of a sudden, you know, I don't know if it's going to be. It could be a gem. I'm just saying, like, by track record, usually if you have a well planned out, thought out movie, it can have a better chance of being good, but.
I do know that the guy that played Grey Worm in Game of Thrones is playing Louis for the show, and like I've never really I've watched Game of Thrones, but I couldn't give you like a good round discussion on him as far as an actor and whatnot. I just know him from Game Grumps when he came on to play. And like he got really frustrated at playing Mario Kart with them, and so like that's the only version of him that I know the best. So it's hard to say like he's gonna be a great Louis, because I'm just gonna hear him in the back of my mind. It's like, could you shut the fuck up for a second? I'm trying to drive. So like that's gonna be my impression of him. But like he's a good actor. So from what I've seen of him, so I mean I think he'll do an excellent job with playing Louis. Lestat is my biggest fear, because like. He is such a big character in the stories that you've got to play him right. And I really do feel that, like, if you haven't read the books and you've seen the movies, that, like, Tom Cruise really set a standard for Louis. Kind of like, oh my God, why did I go blank on his name? The Joker. Luke Skywalker.
What?
Luke Skywalker.
Or Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill, yes.
Yeah.
Like, every time you hear somebody playing the Joker in a cartoon, you're always going to try and hear for that laugh. So when they started doing the Batman games, and they were saying, oh, Troy Baker is going to be playing the Joker, and people were like, I don't care, what does he sound like? And when he did the laugh, they were like, that's close enough to where you're okay in my book. So you get a thumbs up from us. So like Lestat is one of those characters that there is that bar. So how are you going to play it? Louis is Brad Pitt, like, was a great actor in that, but like Louis is just one of those really like easygoing guys. He doesn't want to do any harm to people. He's got a lot of like humanity left in him. So that's not going to be as hard to do as Lestat, who has to pretend that he is this big and beautiful thing and like lure people in, but then also be able to give that like rough look and just snap at any moment type of attitude and really sell it. So we'll see how that goes whenever they actually come out in August. But I'm excited to see it, but I'm like one of those things where I'm not putting my hopes up for it, because I'm really afraid on putting all my hopes and dreams into this and then it failing miserably. So another movie that we're going to be seeing is the Sandman series, which is Neil Gaiman, or Gaiman, however you want to pronounce his name. It is a book/comic book series for DC, in which he wrote on there. They're going to be redoing that one. Looks really good. The girl from Game of Thrones, the real tall soldier girl, is going to be in it. That's the only one that I've seen pictures from as far as that goes. But it looks really good. It looks like it's going to be interesting and a really good take on it. Because once again, we're better CG and stuff like that than back in the 90s and whatnot. So it's going to look a lot better. Is it going to be a lot better? Because we can make video games all day long today, and it still has garbage story and whatnot, but then you go and play Underworld, which is an 8-bit game, and it's beautiful. So that's another one on that end. Of course, The House of the Dragon is going to be coming out, which is the prequel to Game of Thrones. So you've got the Doctor, Matt Smith, that's going to be in that as one of the main characters on that. Basically is going to be telling the story of the dragon family and like why it is that they are such a massive family. They were one of the biggest ones before they were kind of eradicated. So you're going to be seeing a little bit more about the beginning of this world of Game of Thrones, the book that is in regards to it. And that one I feel like is going to be a lot better than Game of Thrones because the book's already finished. So there is no guessing as to how it's going to end, or there's no like, well, I haven't finished the book yet, so let's do it this way type thing. This is already done. It's been done. And you also have a series after that book that tells you where they're going to end up. So I have a feeling this one's going to be really good. It's probably something that Game of Thrones fans are really, really excited for because they finally get a story that's going to be done just like Game of Thrones, but actually have an ending that they know is coming. So like it's going to be done better storytelling, and it's not going to just abruptly end at the end of the season and be like, I don't know what to do. This person wins. So that one's going to be interesting to see some trailers for that. I really want to see Matt Smith in his realm because I see him as the quirky doctor, not the dragon rider, like warrior. So it'll be interesting to see him in that. And one from the 80s movie, I only saw this in passing and I thought it was cute that they're going to be coming out with it. You remember the Gremlins? Mm-hmm. They're actually doing an Origins movie. So you actually figure out what those creatures are.
Oh, I've got another good one.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think anything. I was like, what, is this another Star Wars thing? But it's LucasArts Films that is helping make this. Willow.
Oh, yeah. Willow. That's right. They did a trailer for it.
It's got to be a sequel because it looks like Willow, of course, it's the same actor, actually. But,
which is fantastic.
He's, of course, older. And so I think they're going to make it as if this has happened after the events of the original Willow. Mm-hmm. So it was such a weird movie because I didn't know it existed until I was much older. But it was a really 80s fantasy movie.
There's no plot, no anything, 80s. Fantasy 80s. No, I saw that on Disney Plus where they had a trailer, and I thought they were just saying, oh, hey, we put Willow on here so you can watch it.
No, it's a new.
And I was like, oh, cool. And I clicked on it, and it was totally not the 80s. It was new. And I was like, oh, my God, they are going to be redoing Willow. And then you get into the trailer, and you're like, no, they're going to continue Willow.
And I'm still holding judgment because there's a couple things that look a little weird in the trailer, but overall it looks pretty good. Like, as long as they take the time and of course spend the money and do a good job with this, I'm fine with it. But it's LucasArts Films, so they've got a big enough studio behind it to do a good job. I just don't know if they have the money right now. I don't know much about it, honestly, like who's leading development or anything.
Yeah.
I hope they do a good job. Just a couple things that felt weird was like a couple of the effects. Like there's one point that he had like I couldn't tell if he lit this tapestry on fire or if he just walked up to it and it went on fire. It was like obviously like an accelerant, like gas or whatever. It was just like not a cool explosion, not a simple looking like, oh, it just went on fire. It's like, oh, somebody just went with gas and then there you go. But you know, minus that was just an early first trailer, so it's a lot to be worked on still. This is just, they've been working on it, they've gotten some scenes together, they put a trailer out so people to say, oh, it exists, there's something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. We'll just see how development goes from here.
I'm just glad that they got the original actor to play it, so now it actually
it has,
like
I mean, that's the face of Willow. He's such a unique face to that show or the movie. But I think he did a good job. I liked him.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be doing Willow as well on Disney Plus. A couple of other ones that I saw that were going to be in there. Of course, What We Do in the Shadows season 4 is going to have like a rave party on Sunday. So they're going to be showing off a little bit of what to expect on there.
You can tell that's going to be a masquerade party.
If you have not seen What We Do in the Shadows, I highly recommend it because I thought it was going to be one of those stupid movies that I watched.
It is a stupid but hilariously stupid.
Hilarious movie, and then they went ahead and did a show about it. And we've got up to 4 seasons on it. It's great. It's hilarious. It's got wonderful humor if you're into like just that fake like real life stuff. So I think it's an excellent show.
It reminds me a lot of like the camera angles and the way they talk and stuff. A lot of like The Office.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with vampires.
Yeah.
It's a day-to-day life of vampires. So.
And how there are these like edgy old vampires. They're trying to get used to the real world in modern day.
Yeah. So that's going to be one on my list that I'm going to take a look into because I've already seen a couple of scenes from season 4 that I'm like, oh God, I'm so glad the show is coming back. Another one that's going to be coming out, they're going to be doing a series, is called Paper Girls. That is a comic that's got really popular, like 2015, something like that. So when I was really starting to get into reading comics other than Marvel, I was like, let's see what else is out there. But Paper Girls is a really cool story about these girls that are newspaper girls. You know, they're newspapers. And they do a lot of, like, there's some time traveling, meeting themselves in between, like, you know, things and seeing, like, younger selves and all that, or older selves. So it's a really cool book comic series. They are deciding to go ahead and do a series on that. Another one that it was something that I doubt it's going to be good, but like it's the makers of Sharknado, so we'll see. I saw that they were doing this, and I was like, all right, let's take a look into this. Didn't see a lot more about it, other than the fact that it says it's a story like based on Norse mythology. And I'm going to assume it's like, remember that video game we saw during E3 that was like the lake monster?
It was like Little Nightmares, but with like Nordic kind of themes to it. I can't remember
the name of the monster that is in that was from the lake. But
I remember
I feel like it's that kind of a story with that type of monster, because it says it's a story about a family that goes out to a lake and gets harassed by a lake monster. From the makers of Sharknado, so there's really not a lot to put into it, but it has its own panel, and I feel like when I went to Comic-Con, Sharknado was actually really big there, and they had a point where if you went across the street to go to a restaurant or whatnot, they had a petition going where they were like, sign this paper and tell us what the next Sharknado should be called, and the winner was actually going to name Sharknado 3 for them. And they had a dude dressed up as a tornado with little bits of like sharks coming through them and everything. So it was like, this is a shitty movie, but it's gotten so big because it's so shitty that it's become one of those like Bruce Campbell Evil Dead films to me. Like,
come on, those have a specific allure to them.
And I feel that Sharknado does have that allure to them. And like, from what I can see on here, I've not seen any Sharknadoes because, God, no. Like, I'm not doing that. I've seen so many bad movies in my day. I'm not doing that to myself. But from what I can see, Sharknado...
Says the person that wants to watch Salamageddon or Velocipaster.
The Killer Sofa. Yes. And Velocipaster looks really good.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear that.
Thanksgiving. If you're ever looking for a Thanksgiving movie, watch Thanksgiving.
Not with kids.
Thanksgiving 3 is actually the second one, but they said the second one was so good they had to skip it and go to 3. So, but Sharknado 3 was actually called Oh Hell No. So that was the one that won. Congratulations.
Sounds like that new Key and Peele movie coming out in like 4 days. The Nope. It comes out in like 4 days.
Yeah, that's one I'm looking forward to as well. But that's the biggest things that I see for San Diego Comic-Con on there. That they've announced that they're going to be doing some panels for and things like that. I really hope that it does well. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people there, of course, because it's the first Comic-Con since the whole sickness and everything has been, the pandemic has happened. So I really think that it's going to be massive. I just hope that, like, it didn't do like what E3 did, or like any of these conventions that are just starting to come back out. Like, they've been so far out of it that they don't really know like how to handle it. So I'm thinking, since like San Diego Comic-Con is one of the biggest ones, that they'll jump right in and be perfectly fine. I feel like Gen Con is going to be the same thing this year. It's like, all right, it's like nothing ever happened, let's go type deal. It's like, but we've had some time to think and do some cool things, so here we go. So hopefully that goes really well. I hope that everything, like, they got some cool stuff that comes out, some things that we can discuss on the next one, because our next episode is actually going to be more in-depth to the Lord of the Rings series and to the new House of the Dragon series, and what we expect from those, and seeing, because they come out very soon. And then, of course, on August 4th through the 7th is Gen Con, and we will be going to Gen Con because that's right around the corner for us. And we will be doing some interviews and things like that there. So definitely be hanging out for that. Otherwise, that's all of the announcements that I think that we have. Is there anything else that you can think of that's coming around the corner that we should talk about?
Nothing at the moment. I mean, we covered Comic-Con. That's the big one that's coming around. Well, there's always stuff to talk about, but
Oh, absolutely. One shot. There is going to be another one shot in September. So if you have any more ideas for your characters, keep on sending them. We want to make this one even crazier than the last one. So, and of course, the zombie ghost guy is going to make his appearance in that one because nobody else wanted to play him on that one. So, and I've got one I hopefully get to play. I'm not going to say anything about her because I friggin' love her and I think the concept of her is wonderful. But I want to play this time because I want to be her. So September, that's going to be happening. And then definitely October. We've got a lot of stuff for October coming up. I'm a scaredy pants, so we will be playing some horror games. Also discussing our favorite horror games. But definitely be keeping out on sticks. Twitch for that, because we will be playing on Twitch as well as on YouTube.
Oh my god, we found a new streaming platform we need to make called Sticks.
Throw your sticks and see
Sticks
what
and
happens.
Stones.
But that's going to do it for us today as far as Comic-Con. Hopefully, like, we get some answers on Marvel and the next things. Like, I really would like to see some of the things that we've been talking about because
Marvel is in a bad spot in my opinion, as in they're in the middle of a lot of possible ways they can go, and they are just not giving information right now. I'm sure they got some big reveals in the next movies coming up, but they need to do something soon because they're losing interest of some people. We've been through so many big arcs in the last decade. We need something more defined other than just like, hey, that's a cool movie.
Yeah. I mean, as we pointed out in the Doctor Strange one that we did, like, there was no real point of the Doctor Strange movie. Like, you saw that other universe.
It was just to introduce these people and...
Yeah. And to say, like, hey, remember the X-Men that was over there with, like, Sony or Fox? Well, we've got them now, so we can do that.
And the show so far that's made the most difference on everything in the entire Marvel universe? Loki.
I love Loki.
Yep. I think WandaVision had a big part of, like, leading up to some ideas, but all of it just got shut down with Doctor Strange now. And Loki just destroyed everything. It wasn't necessarily his
Kang,
fault.
like, right there at the end of it. So, I mean, like,
it introduced
Kang,
but
the only time that you've seen Kang since then.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about, like, in general, he just broke the universe. Well, not necessarily him, just it happened.
Yeah.
But, like, I think Loki is the biggest tell of, like, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff happening now. It's because before Loki, it was just kind of like something going on with not Magneto. What's the
it's like, hey,
what's the
Thanos
guy from Spider-Man?
Spider-Man.
The one the guy that has illusions.
Oh, Mysterio?
Yeah, I was gonna say we had some stuff going with Mysterio. He was trying to do stuff in Spider-Man. I'm talking about before Loki came out.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
there wasn't really much to go on.
Well, then you also had, like, the whole Thanos thing. Once you, like, rounded that up, it's like, all right, who's going to be the next big baddie? So I really do hope that Marvel shows up on some of the stuff they've been talking about. Like, I would love to see some footage on the Fantastic Four or Secret Invasion or anything like that. But
I know that Marvel, I think, wants to keep a lot of the stuff under wraps because they've got a big plan and all that stuff. But at a certain point, you put up too much suspense and you're either going to disappoint people, kind of like why Valve won't make third games, and
they're afraid of the three. So
you're going to disappoint.
Left 4 Dead. Oh, no, don't say it. Don't say it.
It's Left 4 Dead. Number 4.
Yeah, we're skipping that bad number. We can't do more.
But I think that they're just waiting too long. It's keeping too many people in suspense, and the only people that are interested anymore are big Marvel fans, which is fine. But Disney wants to make money. They're going to have to do something to get more people interested. And I think Ant-Man, it's never been the biggest movie of all time by Marvel, but it'll be okay.
He's an important character.
He's more important in the comics. He's more important in the comics, I think.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah, way more important in the comics. But I think Guardians of the Galaxy, they have to hit that because I mean they're good movies anyways. I liked them all, but I hope they don't put too much pressure on that movie to set up the entire rest of, like, going into Phase 5. Because Phase 4, I don't think we're going to get a resolution. Hopefully we don't get a resolution because 2023 is already here.
Yeah.
And then I don't want this arc already to be over and then I have to start another one. Like, so hopefully they have they build up to something big in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but I don't know. That's just rambling.
So hopefully that we'll be able to see some stuff coming out here in the weekend. We'll get to discuss it on our next episode that we do. But definitely check us out. We've got a lot of stuff that's coming up here. We're gearing up to we're in July at this point, so we're on the next half of the year, and this is the busy side of the year. So August we've got Comic-Con. September we're going to be doing our one shot, and then October is going to be Halloween. So definitely keep an eye out on us, and hopefully we get some answers to our questions that are on here. Hopefully you all get some answers to your questions from Comic-Con, and we will see you next time. Laters.
Bye.
I'm at you.
At you. Keep that in.